Heartwarming moment, billionaire's daughter surprises everyone by choosing the black maid as mom. Emma Carter stood at the edge of her sprawling backyard, where the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting a golden glow over the lavish party preparations. Lavish cars glided past the ornate gates of her family's estate, where perfectly manicured lawns met palm trees swaying in the warm California breeze. Inside, the sounds of muffled laughter and clinking glasses echoed, reminding Emma how fake the smiles of high society gatherings could feel. She wore a stunning designer gown, yet inside, she felt like a stranger in her own life, trapped in a golden cage. The burden of her billionaire parents' expectations weighed on her. They envisioned her at an Ivy League school, poised as a top-tier socialite, but all Emma could think of was Rosa, their devoted maid, a woman with unyielding strength and resilience. Rosa was the kind of mother Emma admired, one who fought fiercely to provide for her daughter while holding on to her dignity in a world that often overlooked her. With graduation looming, her father called for an extravagant graduation party meant to showcase their family's wealth and influence. Emma wished for an intimate gathering, one where she could celebrate her achievements and thank those who truly mattered, especially Rosa. As she gazed out at the festivities, she felt lost, torn between the life of jewels and privilege that filled every corner of her existence and the sincerity and warmth Rosa brought into her life. "Emma, sweetie." Her mother's high-pitched voice interrupted her thoughts. "We need to finalize the guest list. It has to be perfect." The implication behind her mother's words made Emma's stomach twist. Perfection was a burden she could no longer bear. As guests began to arrive, the bustling atmosphere filled with laughter felt electric, but beneath it all, Emma's heart raced with a tumult of emotions. The moment announced, everyone was watching, scrutinizing. Would she simply play her part? Would she don the mask of compliance? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun set, Emma's pulse quickened. Suddenly, she spotted Rosa in her crisp uniform, arranging the place settings. A light shone on her, and in that moment, Emma recognized the strength and love emanating from her. Gathering her courage, Emma wove through the crowd, fueled by something deep within. As she stood before the array of elite attendees, Emma felt her breath catch. The room's laughter faded as she found her voice. "I want Rosa to stand beside me, as my mother today." A dramatic pause swept through the crowd, but shock transformed the atmosphere. Gasps filled the room, and Emma's father's jaw clenched, dismay and rage etched on his face. "What have you done, Emma?" he said, voice low yet thunderous. A swell of emotions flooded her, a mix of fear and liberation. This was everything she had learned from Rosa: dignity, love, true character. Unwavering, Emma turned to face the sea of shocked faces. As whispers followed her words, the tensions of privilege and worth bubbled to the surface. What was more important? The comfort of wealth, or standing up for what was right? Would she choose to live authentically, even if it meant losing everything? Emma's heart raced, the choice forever shifting the course of her life. Emma stood in the middle of the gathering, her heart thumping like a drum echoing in the silence. She could feel the weight of everyone's gaze, pinned on her as if she decommitted an unspeakable crime. The shock hovered over the crowd, like an uncomfortable fog thickening the air. All she could hear was the thumping in her chest, louder than the music playing in the background. "Emma, this is absolutely unacceptable." Her father's voice sliced through the tension, filled with fury. His face was a storm of emotions, and for a moment, Emma felt afraid. She fought the instinct to back down, to apologize, to retreat into the safety of compliance. But then she remembered Rosa's unwavering spirit, how she'd always encouraged Emma to stand tall and proud of who she was. I know what I'm doing, Dad. Her voice was steadier than she felt. This is my choice, not just for today but for my life moving forward. Rosa deserves this moment. Around them, the whispers transformed into a wave of chatter, mixed reactions flowing through the crowd. Friends looked at each other, some in admiration, others in disbelief. Emma noticed a few guests smirking, their faces twisted in amusement at her rebellion. But there were also those who looked impressed, perhaps even inspired. Suddenly, Rosa stepped forward, her hands softly clasped in front of her. Emma, darling, it's okay, she said gently, her voice calm and soothing amidst the storm. You don't have to do this for me. No, Rosa, Emma replied, stepping closer to her. I want to do this. You've always been my true anchor. You taught me about love and kindness when no one else would. Tears began to pool in Rosa's eyes, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen not as merely another employee, but as an essential part of Emma's life and story. The crowd's tone began to shift. She's right, murmured a voice from the back. Rosa has been like a mother to her. The sentiment grew, ignited by those who believed love should not be confined to societal norms or boundaries. Emma's heart soared as she felt support rising around her. Maybe there was hope in being authentic, even when it felt like swimming against a powerful current. She locked eyes with Rosa, and a silent understanding passed between them. This was about more than just a title, it was about belonging, about acceptance and, ultimately, love. But just as the atmosphere began to brighten, another voice chimed in. What kind of nonsense is this? You're throwing away your future, Emma. It was her mother, looking horrified, eyes wide with disbelief. The shame in her tone was palpable. An unexpected pang of sorrow knotted in Emma's stomach, realizing the true cost of her choice. Would she really lose her family over this? But then she recalled the fierce determination of Rosa, and how love sometimes meant making sacrifices, even when the world felt unsteady beneath her feet. Maybe it's time to redefine what family really means, Emma said, her voice unwavering now. As she stood tall, surrounded by the murmur of shocked guests and Rosa's reassuring presence, she wondered what this bold step would mean for her future. Would she truly break free from the wealthy facade that had dictated her life for so long? The room fell into an uneasy silence again, filled with unspoken questions hanging heavily in the air. Emma felt a deep tension but also an exhilarating rush of newfound freedom. What awaited her outside this lavish cage? Would she embrace a life built on authenticity and truth, even if that meant standing in the crosshairs of her family's expectations? As the weight of the moment sat heavy on her shoulders, Emma took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. But just then, her father stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. You better think carefully about where this decision will lead you, Emma. With that ultimatum hanging in the air, Emma wondered if she had the strength to face the consequences of her choice. The next chapter of her life was just beginning, and she was determined to write it on her own terms. Emma stood there, her father's words hanging like dark clouds overhead. She could see the anger and confusion etched into his features, a man who had always been sure of everything: his power, his status, his expectations for her. But now, he looked lost, and for a moment, she felt a flicker of doubt, a soft whisper urging her to retreat into the shadows of compliance. How can you do this to us? He pressed, voice trembling slightly. You have everything, Emma. A life laid out before you, opportunities others can only dream of, and you waste it on this? As she looked around the room, the tension hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament. Part of her yearned for the approval of her parents, that validation that had always been a natural instinct. Yet, the other part, a more robust, more alive part, screamed for freedom, for a path not dictated by wealth or status, but shaped by love. Dad, Emma spoke, clearer this time, the firmness in her voice surprising even herself. This isn't a waste to me. This is about truth. Rosa deserves every bit of this recognition. She is family to me. I won't shrink back because it's not what you expected. Rosa stood by her side, her presence both grounding and empowering. With a brave step forward, she turned toward Emma's father. "Sir, I am honored, really, but I never wanted to overstep. Emma's happiness is all that matters to me." The emotional weight shifted, murmurs of support rippled through the crowd. Emma noticed familiar faces of friends she had known forever, their expressions softening. Jack, her childhood friend, nodded in encouragement from the back. It was starting to feel like, maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone as she thought in this battle of wills. But her mother was relentless. "You are making a mistake, Emma. You don't realize what kind of world you're choosing to walk into. This is a betrayal of everything we've worked for." Her mother's eyes glistened with tears, a mix of hurt and disbelief. Emma felt the sting of those words but stood her ground. "This is not a betrayal. I am claiming my own life. It's about finding my voice amidst whispers of what should be. Isn't that what we all want?" For a brief moment, the world around them faded. It was just Emma, Rosa, and the undeniable pull of a choice that was both thrilling and terrifying. She had to believe in the truth within her and trust this gravity would lead her somewhere impactful. Suddenly, she felt the warmth of Rosa's hand slip into hers, a silent promise woven between them. It was the reassurance Emma desperately needed, igniting the fire in her heart. Her fears began to dissipate. She could sense the shift in the atmosphere like the first breath of spring after a long winter. As she prepared to face the intensity of her parents' responses, Emma glanced back at the crowd. She saw allies, glimmers of hope, people ready to support the journey ahead, whatever it may hold. Then her heart sank again as she remembered the darker side of her choice. "Is this really the life you want?" Her father questioned again, quieter this time but laced with urgency. "To live under scrutiny, to face whispers behind your back, to turn your back on your legacy?" The chaos of emotions swirled within her, but Emma felt a pulse of clarity. A legacy isn't just about wealth or status. It's about love, understanding, and the people who truly matter. "I am ready, Dad. I'm ready to carve my own path, no matter where it leads." But would the strength of her resolve hold when faced with the consequences? Would she find acceptance from a family who valued appearances over truth? As she stood there, riddled with uncertainty but holding on to the light that had ignited in her heart, she knew one thing: the real journey was just beginning. In that moment, she realized the greatest tests often come disguised as choices. Emma turned to Rosa, feeling a sense of unity that drowned out the chaos, and held her breath at what lay ahead. Would their love be enough to withstand the storm, or would it unravel under pressure? As she stood at the crossroads of her life, she wondered if she had the courage to see it through. Emma could feel the weight of the moment in the air, thick and heavy. As the silence stretched, time slowed, allowing every heartbeat to resonate with the uncertainties swirling around her. She dared not glance at her father, who stood there like a statue carved from stone, his disappointment a palpable force pushing against her. Rosa's hand remained firmly clasped in hers, a tether to the real world and a reminder of the path they had chosen together. "You don't have to explain yourself to them," Rosa whispered, her eyes meeting Emma's with encouragement. "What matters is us, our truth." With a shaky breath, Emma faced the crowd again, gathering her thoughts, trying to channel the strength from the warmth radiating from Rosa's grip. "I won't hide who I am, or who I love. This isn't just my fight, it's for anyone who feels invisible, pushed aside for being different. Love doesn't care about status or money, it thrives where it's nurtured. And I'll nurture it with everything I have." A ripple of whispers danced through the crowd, and Emma caught sight of a few heads nodding. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in this after all. Her mother let out a disbelieving snort, but Emma didn't back down. "You raised me to be strong, Mom. I just hope you can see me for who I truly am." "Well, I don't know who you are anymore." Her mother shot back, voice sharp enough to slice through the tension, hurting but not breaking Emma's resolve. Emma took a breath, summoning all her courage. I'm your daughter, the same girl who loved the summer days filled with laughter and sunshine in our backyard, who danced in the rain. I still love those moments, and I want to build my future around those treasures, not a gilded cage." Rosa squeezed her hand tighter, her eyes sparkling with tears. Emma noticed other faces in the audience reflecting a spectrum of emotions: sadness, confusion, but also admiration. Jack's small smile gave her a rush of encouragement, nudging her to continue. "Let me grow," Emma said softly, her voice trembling, "let me learn how to love and make mistakes, just like you did. This is the only life I get." A whisper floated through the crowd, words of support from an unexpected ally. "She's right. We all deserve a chance to live authentically." It was Lucy, an old friend from school, who had often felt out of place in the very world Emma had known. The urgency in her father's eyes flickered yet again. "And what about the legacy? Do you really think that you can just walk away from everything we built? What if the legacy we built doesn't represent love?" Emma replied, realizing that the conversation was evolving, shifting away from confrontation to something deeper. "What if it represents fear? If we don't stand up for love now, what are we doing? Where does that leave us?" With each question, she felt the pressure of his expectations loosening, if only just a bit. And then the unthinkable happened. Her father glanced down, visibly struggling with something inside him. For a moment, silence enveloped both crosses. It felt like the world held its breath. Would he let it go? Could he accept her choices and find it in his heart to support her? Just then, her mother took a step forward, tears shimmering like a reflection of the old home videotapes they used to watch together. "Emma, please." Before she could finish, Emma's heart raced as she sensed the shift, the impending truth teetering on the edge of confession. What was about to spill out? "You're throwing it all away." The words hung in the air, yet echoed around her like an invitation. Emma looked into her parents' eyes, battling the surge of emotions. With her heart pounding, she waited, a tether to hope and fear in equal measure, unsure of what tomorrow would bring. Was this the beginning of a transformation for them as well? Or was she simply carving out her own heartache? As the weight of the silence bore down on her, Emma prepared to meet whatever came next: cause a storm, a second chance, or a goodbye. But in that flash of uncertainty, one question echoed louder than the others: would love become a sanctuary, or a battleground? Emma's heart raced as her mother's words hung in the heavy air. Each syllable felt like a weight, pushing against her chest, testing her resolve. Would this truly mark the end of all she believed in? Her vision blurred for a moment, the sting of tears pooling behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. The crowd shifted, a mixture of unease and anticipation swirling around them. Rosa's hand held hers tighter, a warm anchor amid the chaos. Emma felt a surge of courage swell inside her. She wanted to scream back, to challenge every notion of worth tied solely to lineage and wealth. But instead, she took a deep breath. "I'm not throwing anything away," she said, her voice steady, belying the tumult inside. "I'm choosing to fight for something real. Something that can breathe and grow. I want to live, not just exist." Her mother stepped back, pain flickering in her eyes, but Emma saw something new there as well: confusion battling against a deep-rooted fear of losing the daughter she thought she knew. "You don't understand what this means, Emma," she protested half-heartedly, her voice cracking slightly. "But I do, Mom. I understand more than you think." Emma pressed on, feeling a swell of community behind her from the few who stood united. "It means confronting what's always been expected of us, and choosing what we want. A legacy built on love, not obligation." The churning emotions within her father's eyes were undeniable. Emma dared to step closer, driven by both fear and the flame of hope that sparked from the hearts around her. "Dad, I'm still your daughter. I'm still the girl who danced under the stars with you in the backyard. Please see that I'm just trying to bring light into my life." As if struggling with an invisible force, he clung to his silence, deep furrows forming on his brow. The audience waited, breaths collectively held, the gravity of the moment palpable. She almost wished he would shout, to break the silence decidedly. Then, an unexpected voice called out, "You can't force love to fit into a box." It was Jim, her father's former business partner, stepping forward from the crowd, his words echoing with conviction. No one should ever have to choose between their heart and their family. We all deserve to be free. For a moment, Emma felt as if the universe aligned. She wasn't fighting alone. Voices began to rise in a gentle chorus, friends, neighbors, even distant relatives sharing their solidarity. Her mother's hardened expression softened just a fraction. "You're so young," she began, regret lacing her voice, but Emma interrupted softly. "And you taught me to be strong, right?" With each word, the tension enveloping the family shifted. Emma saw how her father finally looked up, his expression wavering, the lines of expectation shifting. Could he release those chains that had bound them since her birth? "Can't you see how much love is out there? How it could fill us, if we just let it?" Each word felt like a pebble dropped into a well, rippling through the silence. But as her father stood there, conflicted but more open than he had been moments ago, the crowd's energy shifted. Though hope danced in Emma's spirit, a shadow of fear loomed, wondering if this would be enough, if love really could build a bridge. What would they ultimately choose? Would they embrace her truth, creating a path forward, or would the walls surrounding their family close in tighter? Emma was left teetering on the precipice of a moment that felt pivotal, ready for whatever came next. But as her parents stood guarded, the question lingered in the air: could the seeds of acceptance blossom where only judgment had grown before? The silence stretched, thick and heavy, wrapping around them like a thick fog. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, each beat resonating with the hope that maybe, just maybe, her parents would finally see beyond their fears and expectations. The crowd had quieted, the energy palpable as they held their breath, waiting for a sign. Her mother's expression shifted, the hard lines softening as tears brimmed in her eyes. "I just don't want you to get hurt, Emma," she admitted, her voice cracking. "The world can be so cruel to those who don't fit in." "Mom, I don't want to fit in anymore," Emma replied, stepping closer, her hands still intertwined with Rosa's. "I want to stand out on my own terms. I'm tired of living in a shadow." Rosa squeezed her hand reassuringly, her strength radiating warmth through Emma's skin. All around them, people leaned in, their expressions reflecting empathy and understanding. They knew what it was like to fight against expectations, to yearn for freedom in a world intent on keeping them constrained. "Emma, I love you," her father finally spoke, his voice gruff but laced with tenderness. I can't bear to see you struggle. We've worked so hard to give you everything we thought you needed." "That's where it's wrong, Dad," Emma replied, steel edging her tone. "What good are all those things if I'm not truly happy? I don't need a mansion, I want a home filled with laughter and love." Her plea hung in the air, suspended like a fragile feather. With a hesitant nod that felt both monumental and minuscule, her father broke eye contact. He turned his gaze toward the crowd, taking in the faces of those who had lifted Emma with their support. Each face reflected a shared struggle, a desire for connection that transcended wealth and social standing. For the first time, he seemed to grasp the enormity of what his daughter was asking. As if sensing this shift, a woman from the crowd, a figure Emma recognized from the neighborhood, someone who had often smiled at her during her morning jogs, stepped forward. "I grew up in a similar world," she said, her voice clear and compelling. "It wasn't until I dared to embrace my truth that I found joy." Don't let fear cage you, Emma. Love has a way of working everything out. Hope flickered in Emma's chest at the woman's words, which resonated with her own buried fears. Could love truly conquer all that had kept them confined? She could feel the tremors of doubt creeping back, yet she clung to the warmth of those around her. Then, her mother did the unthinkable. She wiped a tear from her cheek and took a step forward, closer to Emma. "If love is what you want, then I have to trust you, Em." Her voice trembled with vulnerability. "It scares me, but maybe it's time we all find out what love can do." A collective exhale rippled through the audience. A wave of relief, gratitude, and mingled emotion washed over everyone present. Emma's heart swelled with a sense of possibility, a hope that this moment could be the first step towards something more profound. As her father lifted his gaze, a question hung in the air between them, unspoken but heavy: may I learn to love in a way I never thought possible? Yet just as Emma felt herself soaring above the doubts, an unsettling voice pierced the moment, slicing through the tender atmosphere. This is all a mistake. Someone shouted from the back, a familiar voice echoing the family's more traditional views. What will people say? Emma's breath caught in her throat. She felt her heart plummet. Would the fragile threads of acceptance unravel before they even had a chance to form into something solid? The crowd began to murmur, tension re-emerging as eyes darted. Emma's hands clenched tightly around Rosa's. In that instant, she knew the hardest part was yet to come. Would they stand for love against the judgment that had so often dictated their lives? The atmosphere thickened once more, and Emma realized that this was only the beginning. Would they find a way to silence the doubts, to embrace the unfamiliar together? The battle for their love and acceptance was still unfolding, and the real fight was just beginning. Emma's heart raced as the voice from the back echoed in her mind, cold, judgmental, and an unwelcome reminder of the world outside their bubble. She turned, searching for the familiar features of the person who had delivered the blow. It was Mrs. Caldwell, the neighbor known for her gossiping tendencies and razor-sharp opinions. The way she arched her brow said it all. To her, love was a business transaction, a societal contract. Look around you. Emma wanted to shout, to remind the crowd that love had always lived outside the constraints of tradition, that it blossomed in the most unexpected places. But the words lodged in her throat. Would the weight of Mrs. Caldwell's disapproval unravel the support she'd gathered? Would it all come crashing down because someone feared the unorthodox? She felt the pressure of all eyes, a mix of intrigue and apprehension, resting on her. Emma. Rosa's voice broke through the noise, steady and unwavering. Just be you. Don't let her words drown out what you know is right. Feeling Rosa's grip, steady and warm, Emma found the strength she desperately needed. She could sense the crowd shifting, uncertain but eager for guidance. With a deep breath, she turned back to her parents. Mom, Dad, Emma started, her voice growing steadier with each word. This is our chance to redefine what love means. To embrace it in all its forms. We can't let fear dictate our happiness. Emma's mother looked stunned, searching her daughter's face for signs of hesitation, for any shred of insecurity. But Emma held firm, her heart pulsating with determination. Everything she had ever wanted was within reach, and it began with this moment. Rosa shifted beside her, the weight of the world reflected in her shining eyes. We are more than how everyone sees us, more than their whispers and judgments, she added, her voice confident, laced with a desire for change. The love we share is real, and it's ours. No one else gets to define it. A wave of murmurs flowed through the crowd, as if Rosa's words were a spark igniting a fire long contained. Emma could feel hearts shifting and minds awakening. A man near the front nodded solemnly, and an older woman wiped a tear from her cheek as she whispered something to her partner. Emma looked at her parents again, hope flickering in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, they could embrace this truth together. But then, Mrs. Caldwell's voice cut through once more. You're throwing your life away. You think this will end well? The tension escalated as people turned their heads, some visibly uncomfortable, others emboldened by their own experiences. Emma's breath hitched, but she pressed on. Maybe it's not about the ending, but the journey. Maybe it's about living authentically, no matter what that looks like. Then she saw her father's brow furrow, a storm brewing behind his steel-like demeanor. Everything he had built, his legacy, his status, they were all at stake. What would it mean for him to accept this? Would he choose her over the expectations that loomed like a shadow? Emma's heart raced as she observed the flicker of confusion turn to contemplation in her father's eyes. "But what about everything we've worked for?" he muttered, almost to himself, as if wrestling with an inner morality. As silence reigned, the world felt suspended, a tightrope of emotion stretched before them. Emma stole a glance at Rosa, who held her gaze steady, imploring her to continue. What if her parents couldn't see their way forward? What if the path toward acceptance fractured under the weight of old beliefs? The crowd was silent, hanging on her every word, and suddenly the enormity of the moment threatened to crush her once more. As doubt seeped in, she wondered if love would truly be enough to withstand this storm. Would they emerge together, or would this be the moment where everything splintered apart? Emma gathered her courage anew. We can't let fear win. We all deserve to love and to be loved for who we are. And just as she prepared to speak again, another voice emerged from the crowd, shattering the tension with a question that prompted even more uncertainty. But what if love isn't enough? The words hung in the air like a premonition. With everything on the line, each person present had to confront their own fears. Emma could feel the shift, a fierce energy brewing around them. What really was at stake? And more importantly, could their love stand strong against the tide of doubt? In that moment, the future felt profoundly uncertain. Emma felt a tremor race through the crowd at that question. It was like a ripple in a pond, shaking the surface of their fragile sea of hope. She could see the faces around her shift, grappling with the depths of that inquiry. Who was ready to spill their guts, ready to face the hidden fears that lay beneath their resolute exteriors? Rosa squeezed Emma's hand tighter, grounding her in that storm of doubt. We can't give in to what-ifs, she urged quietly, her eyes sparkling with determination. What if love is all we need? Emma nodded, drawing strength from her partner's unwavering belief. But her gaze drifted back to her parents. Her mother had tears pooling in her eyes, while her father's face was set, a fortress of resolve mixed with uncertainty. They needed to understand that love didn't fit neatly into boxes, it flourished in the messiness of real, human connection. Love transforms us, Emma pressed on, her voice rising above the murmurings. It's not about fitting a mold or following a script. It's about choosing to be true to ourselves, choosing to honor the love that exists right here, in this moment. Her words wrapped around the spectators, pulling them in closer. Some nodded, a few even smiled, but the shadows of doubt stayed thick around her parents. What's the point? Her father finally said, his voice cracking. We're facing a world that may never accept, but it's our world too. Emma shouted, her heart pounding painfully in her chest. It's our reality, and we shape it by living authentically. Together, we can break the cycle of fear. The world doesn't get to define our love or our happiness. The air crackled with energy, charged like a storm about to break. Emma could see people leaning closer, their faces illuminated by flickers of recognition. This was bigger than just her family, it was about everyone who had ever been silenced, everyone who had ever cowered under the weight of expectation. Mrs. Caldwell's sneer faded into something resembling unease as she listened, her sharp features softening just a fraction. Emma quickly turned back to her parents. Mom, Dad, remember how you always encouraged me to follow my heart? To live boldly? The old memories hung in the air, heavy with nostalgia. This is me, embracing who I am. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't fight for this love. Her mother's expression shifted as she absorbed Emma's words. The steely resolve in her father's gaze began to crack, revealing something more vulnerable beneath. Please see me, Emma whispered, desperation threading her voice. See us. The crowd was silent, the weight of her plea mingling with the dust motes dancing in the sunlight streaming down. And then, just as the tension felt unbearable, her mother stepped forward. The lines of worry on her face softened, and a trembling hand reached out. It felt like everything hung in the balance. Emma, she started, her voice trembling like a fragile leaf. But suddenly, a deafening roar erupted from further back in the crowd. You all need to stop. You think this is just about you? A tall figure, clad in a leather jacket, pushed through the onlookers. Whispers erupted again, this time laced with confusion and intrigue. Emma's heart skipped. Who was this? What did they want? In that moment, she realized the fight wasn't just about acceptance, it was about recognizing the battles raging within everyone present. The crowd was alive with challenge, and now it felt like the moment might shift once more, pushing her toward a precipice she wasn't sure she was ready for. With curiosity piqued, she drew a breath, anticipating whatever was coming next. Would this new voice deepen the chasms or bridge the gaps? What revelations lay ahead, and would love stand firm amidst the storm? What do you mean, just about you? The figure's voice sliced through the air, sharp and clear. As they approached, Emma caught a glimpse of fierce green eyes and wind-whipped hair, a stark contrast to the polished faces surrounding her. It was as if a tempest had entered their quiet corner of the world, raw and untamed. The crowd shifted, pulling back slightly to allow this stranger space. Tension coiled around each individual, curiosity igniting murmurs that raced up and down the line. Emma's heart drummed in her chest, racing with confusion, anger, and a flicker of intrigue. What I see here isn't just about a girl finding love. The figure continued, their voice ringing with authority. It's about the weight of expectations, the burden of silence. We're all standing here with secrets we think we must hide. So tell me, Emma, are you ready to face it? To own the mess? Emma blinked, stunned by the direct confrontation. It felt like an electric shock, igniting something deep within her. Who are you? She managed, trying to grasp the point of this stranger's aggression. I'm someone who knows what it's like to fight for love in the shadows, they shot back, glancing around the crowd. I'm not here to undermine you. I'm here to challenge you to challenge all of us. Are we going to let fear win, or are we going to let our love explode like fireworks? Emma's heart raced. The crowd's faces were reflecting her own inner turmoil, even as their expressions shifted from skepticism to a wariness tinged with hope. Rosa's hand tightened around hers, a silent display of solidarity. Might I remind you, love doesn't just conquer all, the figure added, a slight smile breaking through anger. It also makes us vulnerable. So, what's it going to be? Are we going to be brave together or keep hiding away? The air was thick with expectation. Emma could feel the collective heartbeat of the crowd thumping in unity, each person hanging on the edge of change. The weight of the moment crashed against her like waves, each rising higher, threatening to pull her under. Bravery. Emma echoed, her voice steadying as she spoke into the gathering silence. Bravery isn't about shouting the loudest, or even being the strongest. It's about standing up, even when we're shaking inside. It's about being real with one another and ourselves. Emma's father's brow furrowed deeper, his eyes scanning the crowd. She could see his understanding beginning to shift, a small crack in the wall he had built around his heart. Everyone deserves to be seen, she continued, rising to the challenge. Not just me. If we want a world that accepts us, we have to accept each other first. The stranger took a step closer, their eyes reflecting pride and pain in equal measure. Exactly. The fight isn't over. No one else had it easy. Love can hurt, but it can also heal if we let it. We're on this journey together, they proclaimed, pointing to various members of the audience, igniting conversations that had been stifled for too long. The crowd began to murmur in agreement, voices rising and falling, a chorus of shared struggles. Emma's breath caught as she glanced at her parents. Her mother wiped a tear, her head lifting slightly as if she were finally beginning to see Emma, really see her. Will you stand with us? The figure asked, turning to face the audience entirely, challenging them to respond. Will you let love lead the way? Emma felt a surge of hope ripple through her. She squeezed Rosa's hand tighter, drawing strength from that connection. Yes. We can't do this alone, she called out, the words bursting forth like a dam breaking. We can't keep hiding our truths anymore. But before the crowd could answer, a familiar, small voice piped up from the back. What if they don't love us back? The question hung like a weight in the air, solid and undeniable, pulling the hopeful atmosphere into doubt. Emma's heart dropped, realizing that not everyone was ready to embrace change. Silence settled over the crowd as all eyes turned toward her. How would she respond? Would she break the growing connection? Could love really change everything if the fear of rejection still loomed? Until now, she fought for herself. But what if this fight expanded beyond her? Her mind raced with possibilities as she squared her shoulders, ready to face the unknown. Would she find the words to reassure everyone, including herself? With renewed determination, Emma took a deep breath, preparing to transform fear into strength. Emma's breaths came quick, her heart a wild drum in her chest. She knew this moment wasn't just hers, it belonged to everyone standing with her, all fighting their own battles, yearning for the same acceptance she craved. What if they don't love us back? Floated in the air like a challenge, a stubborn specter haunting the edges of their fragile hope. The voice had been small, but its impact loomed large. Emma felt it resonate deep. What did it mean to love authentically if that love was met with indifference, or worse, hostility? Love isn't a transaction, Emma finally said, grounding herself in the warmth of Rosa's unwavering grip. It's a choice, a leap into the unknown. We can't control how others react, but we can control how we show up. We love because it makes us whole, not because we seek validation. The crowd seemed to shift, not in retreat this time, but in solidarity. Murmurs of understanding swirled around as Emma's words struck a deep chord. The weight of her truth hung heavy, yet she felt lighter. Maybe, just maybe, this moment was about more than fighting her family's expectations. It was about inviting everyone to face their fears and embrace the raw, beautiful chaos of love together. Rosa stepped forward, her voice thick with emotion. Love is a fire that brightens the dark. It asks us to be vulnerable, but together we can see through the shadows. Each of you has a light to share. Exactly, Emma added, emboldened. We've all faced our own pain, but together, we can rise. This is our moment to believe not just in ourselves, but in what we can create when we embrace our love. The crowd's energy crackled, and for the first time, Emma saw real openness shining in her mother's eyes. Her father's stern lines softened slightly as whispers of support built around them. I see you, Emma, her mother said, voice trembling but filled with warmth. I see you craving more than this life. I never meant to stifle you. I just wanted to protect you. And I appreciate that, Mom, Emma replied, her voice shaking with emotion spilling out. But love is about freedom. Protecting me shouldn't mean hiding me away. The stranger earlier, now quiet, observed with an intensity that encouraged Emma as she pressed on. We each deserve to be seen, to love openly, no matter who we are or who we love. That is what makes our lives meaningful. What burst forth next surprised even Emma. She looked into the eyes of her parents and said, "You have shown me the importance of family. Now I want to build one that encompasses love in all its forms, even if it's messy and imperfect." Tears sprang anew in her mother's eyes, and the crowd shifted closer, supporting her assertion. We all have a part to play in this. We need to dismantle the walls built by fear, whether it's love between family, friends, or romantic partners. Acceptance can start right here, right now. The world is filled with uncertainty, but when we embrace love, anything is possible. Suddenly, a ripple of energy charged through the crowd, voices rising up in stark links of agreement. Yes. Be together. Fight for love. As Emma stood there, surrounded by rising voices of solidarity, she felt a warmth radiate through her. The tension began to evaporate like mist in the sun. She turned back to her parents. You raised me to be strong, now I need you to be brave with me. Let us redefine our family together. We can build something where love is the foundation, not a fortress. Her father stepped forward, eyes glistening with something she had seldom seen before: vulnerability. Emma, I want to understand. I don't have all the answers, but if you're fighting for this, then I want to stand with you. Just guide me. Those words hung like a blessing in the air, and Emma's chest swelled with hope. Together, she echoed, glancing at Rosa, who shone with pride. Let us build a world where love is free to grow, where kindness reigns, and all of us can shine. A sudden energy pulsed through the crowd as they erupted in support, voices rising higher. Included in the chorus of affirmation came the voices that had once echoed doubt. The landscape of their hearts shifted, and in that moment, barriers began to sway. Emma felt the warmth of acceptance wash over her. Would they really rebuild their foundation on love instead of fear? Drawing in a deep breath, she shouted into the rising tide of voices, "Whoever stands with me, we can demand a world built on authenticity and connection. Show up for one another." And as the crowd erupted in cheers, her family began to fill in the gaps, stepping forward, breaking away from the weight of old beliefs. They joined in the rallying cry, hearts aligning, redefining what it meant to be family together. Emma felt radiant, her heart now wild with possibility. Even amidst the uncertainties that lay ahead, she was no longer alone. Love coursed through her veins, promising a path forward powered by the very essence of truth, creating ripples of change that weren't only for her but for everyone ready to take that leap. As the sun dipped low, its light bathed them all in glorious warmth, a new chapter of love, acceptance, and family began to unfold. Together, they stepped into a future bright and unconfined, and bursting with hope. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss any more exclusive stories that will inspire you like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, helping others find their way too. I want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the love.